These social democratic media outlets like the Intercept are just like the social democratic politician, mostly aligned with the establishment talking points with a touch of semi-left or pseudo-left policies. And I'm going to say that again because the Intercept is seen as some sort of left, non-establishment sort of media apparatus, but people like Aaron Good, who has been on here, who's a writer and author, who studies the deep state, he says that's likely a intelligence cutout, the Intercept. But I digress. We're going to read this article here where the Intercept, a supposed progressive or non-establishment outlet, is pushing against third parties. But not only that, guess what they're using? They're using the if you vote for third parties, you're voting for Trump argument that we all have heard who are in the spaces of the third party spaces. But let's read some of this article. Truly ridiculous. Yeah, let's read. We're going to be stopping and starting a lot here, just to give you a heads up. It's a lot that's said here that's completely ridiculous. Actually, let me make sure I said everything I wanted to say in my. Okay. The Intercept pushes Trump derangement and says a vote for third party is a vote for Trump. That's essentially what this article says. Let's read. American presidential elections are binary. Either a Democrat or a Republican wins. Nobody else. To me, and I'm going to pause here, to me, doesn't that scream not a democracy? If you can make this first two sentences, that alone, actually is more, this first part, because it's a bunch of sentences broken up, this first part screams to me not a democracy. But I digress. Let's continue. The 2004 presidential election will be between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. No matter how much Americans may wish for other candidates, that's not the choice. You mean the American people want something else? A democracy should deliver, right? Third-party candidates don't win, can't win. They only steal votes from the mainstream Republican and Democratic candidates with whom they are most closely aligned with. Now, let's examine this obvious lie. The Green Party. Is the Green Party most aligned with the Democratic Party? Green Party believes in climate change. They believe in something like a $15 to $20 trillion investment in the climate crisis. They believe in reparations. They believe in defund the military. They believe in defund police. Like what part of that is aligned with the Democratic Party? Democratic Party believes in strength through militarism. Democratic Party believes in suppressing minimum wage. But this article says, and this author says, third parties are most aligned with either Republican or Democrat. Now, libertarian, maybe on social issues, they align with Republicans, but on privacy and war, they do not. So to me, that's not accurate. But I continue with the article. They help the candidate at the opposite end of the political spectrum. This year, progressives, now let me make sure because I get this clear. They help the candidate at the opposite end of the spectrum. This is why it is so important for them to say you're closely aligned with the Democratic Party. If you're to break up this point of how you're not closely aligned, then the point of saying they help the candidate of the opposite end of the spectrum falls flat. And in the case of Joe Biden and Donald Trump, that does fall flat. And I'm going to pause here and go to my tweet to talk about that. Where was I? Let's go here, and I think I have. I'll just go here because I know it's in my. Here it goes. Here's my tweet. It's getting pretty good numbers. It's about to hit 900 likes, 18,000 views, and to the point that I'm making here about Donald Trump and Biden being very similar. Taking off? Okay. All right, babe. Wife taking off to get the girls. That's why I'm able to go a little bit longer today. Wife is working from home today. But voting for Trump gets you nothing. Actually, let me say this again for those listening. I'm reading the tweet. Voting for Trump gets you nothing. Voting for Biden gets you nothing. Voting for a third party gets you a clear conscience. I'd say that's a win. But understand both parties, both administrations will not deliver on the things you want. Don't let them tell you what they're delivering on for you. They need to tell you what they're delivering on for you that you asked for. Don't let them, NLRB, I delivered. I didn't ask for no NLRB appointment. Sorry, not counting that because I didn't ask for it. So if you're in the space that I am in, these are some of the things that are important to us. So this is why you can't and shouldn't fall for lesser of two evils. Lesser of two evils for what you want, not for what they tell you is important. If Trump wins, no single payer health care, no increase to minimum wage, still working paycheck to paycheck, still giving $900 billion for war each year. That's on paper is well over $1 trillion each year, and nothing on climate. That's if Trump wins. Now, let's see if there's a different set of things if Biden wins. Now, if Biden wins, no, there's still no single payer health care, still no increase to minimum wage, still working paycheck to paycheck, still $900 billion for war each year, and still climate change. So it begs to ask the question, if you aren't getting anything from any administration, why are you falling for the lesser of two evils? Unless you buy into Santa Claus. The Santa Claus effect, what I call the January 6th, the end of democracy argument. Let's get back to the Intercept article. Where is it here? Am I tripping? Oh, right here. It has a black icon just like Twitter X, so couldn't tell. They helped the candidate at the opposite end of the spectrum. This year, progressives who vote for a third-party candidate and don't vote at all are really voting for Trump. Let me say that again, everybody who's not voting for Trump, but you're not voting for Biden too. Let me explain to you how you really are voting for Donald Trump according to the Intercept. This year, progressives who vote for a third-party candidate or don't vote at all are really voting for Trump. And then this is their circular logic here. In 1992, Ross Perot ran one of the most significant third-party campaigns in American history, winning nearly 20% of the vote. The Dallas entrepreneur campaigned as a folksy populist conservative, a slightly crazy-sounding fiscal and trade hawk with a billionaire business resume. Sort of a precursor to Trump, but without the racism, fascism, and criminality. How's he precursor to Trump when you guys say that's all Trump is? You guys say Trump is racist, fascist, and he's a criminal. Anyway, Perot took millions of votes you can't take votes in a democracy, took millions of votes from the disaffected Republicans angered by President George W. Bush willingness to compromise with congressional Democrats on taxes. When Bush ran for president in 1988, one of his key campaign pledges had been not to raise taxes. His reversal once he was in office fuels Perot's rise. Ross Perot's strong showing in 1992 ensured that the election of Bill Clinton, returning to the Democrats the White House for the first time since Jimmy Carter. So, and I may read a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to read more of this. Let's continue with their assessment here. Now, I'm going to get past the Ross Perot stuff and he's going to zero back in on the topic, and that's here where he starts here. A MAGA dark age. None of the third-party candidates this year are likely to come close to Ross Perot's 1992 vote total, but it is possible that a combination of left-wing votes for third-party candidates and low voter turnout among young progressives because of an apathy to Biden could damage the Democratic incumbent in a handful of critical states and doom his re-election bid. That would put Trump back in the White House. And again, whether Trump is in the White House or Biden in the White House, what do we not get? We don't get single payer health care. We don't get anybody doing anything to climate change. We don't get anything to minimum wage. It's the same thing. Both administrations deliver materially the same thing. So don't fall for this. Vote your conscience. Vote against genocide. And that's for third parties. That's for Cornel West. That's for Jill Stein. Cornel West, Jim Stein. Not RFK. Who else is? And Claudia Dela Cruz. I knew it was 3. And let's continue with the article. So, just to be clear, the article says, a progressive who doesn't vote, or that goes for you, Rome, or votes in a general election for RFK Jr., that goes for a lot of you in our audience that still like RFK Jr., or those who vote for Cornel West, that's definitely a lot of you in our audience that vote for Cornel West, or Jill Stein, which is likely me, or Claudia Dela Cruz, one of those two I'm going to vote for, or whoever No Labels puts up as a candidate is voting for Trump. So you understand? So when you go into the election booth, imagine if you went into the election booth and it said Joe Biden and then it said Trump 4 times. Joe Biden, Trump, 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 Trump. That's essentially what the Intercept is saying we're going to see when we go into that election booth. We're going to see Joe Biden, and then we're going to see Trump's name 4 times. We're going to see it when it says Donald Trump. We're going to see it when it says RFK Jr. We're going to see it when it says Cornel West. We're going to see it when it says Jill Stein. I will add a 4th. We're going to see it when it says Claudia Dela Cruz. Let's continue. A Trump presidency means the return of a vengeful maniac to the White House, determined to destroy anyone who gets in the way of his lust for power and ambition to become an American dictator. Let's be clear, I'll pause here. America already has a form of dictatorship. It's called the dictatorship of capital. Who's always elected every single year? Donors, right? Who's always elected every single year? Wall Street? Who's elected every single year? Healthcare lobbyists. Dictation of capital. Just a different face. That's all. But let's continue. It means the ascendancy of a deranged MAGA Republican agenda, more vicious and poisonous than ever before, an agenda that will usher in a dark age for the United States. That agenda would likely bring major wars abroad and cultural fundamentalism at home. This article said will bring major wars abroad. Is this serious? I guess the Intercept has no idea about what Joe Biden is doing in the Middle East. What Joe Biden has done to Yemen that's going to spark a war. I guess they don't know anything about that. I guess they don't know about the Ukraine proxy war. Nothing about that one. What about going around Congress and supplying weapons and funds to Ukraine? I mean, to Israel. What about preparing for war with China? Yet this article says the agenda would likely bring war. Yet Trump is going to bring war. Now, you and I have both lived through the Trump presidency and the Biden presidency. Let's call them administration. Trump administration, Biden administration. Did the Trump administration oversee a genocide in Palestine? Did the Trump administration supply weapons and support to a proxy war in Ukraine? And I'm not advocating for voting for Donald Trump. I'm just stating facts. MAGA world wants war with China. Oh my God, these people. Oh my God. Just lies. MAGA world wants war with China. Both establishments want war with China and Mexico. Trump and his backers would undoubtedly support the complete Israeli takeover of Gaza Strip and the West Bank and the dislocation of millions of Palestinians. He would endorse a Russian victory of cutting off U.S. aid to Ukraine. A U.S. withdrawal from Europe would likely follow, along with Russia's invasion of the Baltic states. If this is supposed to be a successful attempt at advocating your position of not supporting a third party, it's not working. If this is supposed to be an attempt at advocating not even supporting Donald Trump, it's not working because look what they say here. You know, have you not looked at the polling of the American public about financially supporting the Ukraine war? But he says this. He would endorse a Russian victory by cutting off U.S. support to aid. That's what Americans want to do. Are you trying to elect Donald Trump? Intercept? And then they just state this clown shit right here. NATO talking point. He's gonna invade the rest of Europe if we let that happen. Is just clown shit. Is not even worthy more than just calling it clown shit. Despite acknowledging that it would be bad politics, Trump would almost certainly support a complete nationwide ban on abortion and probably also endorse Christian fundamentalist demands to ban contraception along with nationwide ban on books. And that we should take as a trade-off to genocide, I guess. That is such a professional managerial class point of view to think that abortion and banned books supersede a genocide taking place. That is so bizarre. But it is only a point of view you can have if you live in a bubble, like the professional managerial class does. Get to some super chats soon. My apologies for not getting through. I knew I had a lot to get through, so I was trying to get through the presentation. But let's continue. Where did I lead off? His aides are already on record calling for the creation of contraception camps for immigrants, while he has made it clear he wants to prosecute and imprison his political opponents. Now, this part, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm sorry, not that part right there. This part right here. While he made it clear he wants to prosecute and imprison his political opponents, you're doing that to him right now. So, like I said, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Now, let's continue, and I want to get to past some of this Trump derangement to this last part. Not there, right here. This article goes on to say that they are right. Trump poses an existential danger to the United States. Progressives should not make the same mistake that Ernest Thelme made in 1932. Thelme made in 1932. The leader of the German Communist Party. How dare you bring up the Communist Party? Ernest saw mainstream liberals as his enemies. And so the center and left never joined forces against the Nazis. Ernest famously said that some Nazi trees must not be allowed to overshadow a forest of social democrats, whom he sneeringly called social fascists. I mean, I don't know the audience that would buy this circular nonsense